kind, not only to each other, but to ourselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that in order to be kind in this situation as well, as employers, we also have to understand that, you know, even if you're interviewing a candidate and you know, you're reading a resume and it says that they haven't got enough experience, or they don't have experience, the level of experience you're looking for, think twice before you throw that CV to one side. I believe we all have a responsibility to help each other and pull each other up. And it's not like there's no jobs out there for Salesforce. There are there at the moment. It's just that, and I believe that actually, I was on a roundtable call today with some industry thought leaders in the UK, and we were saying that we think this will cause a big boom in cloud applications, because where companies are transforming and becoming more digitally aware, they're doing it in reaction to the virus and the global pandemic that's been caused by it. I think that after everything's calmed down a bit, we will see companies actually shaking themselves and realizing that, my God, I didn't have a business continuity plan and we weren't prepared for this, and none of us were prepared for this, but we didn't have a business continuity plan. We didn't have any kind of digital strategy, and maybe now is the time that we need to do that, which creates wonderful opportunities for all of us here to apply that knowledge. And there are junior admin roles out there. There are consultancy roles out
Definitely.
there.
And so, you know, I always find, because I've similarly, I've been on both sides of the table as far as, you know, interviewing and interviewing other Salesforce professionals. And it's always most important to me, if you don't know something, to at least say, well, you know, that is something I'd really like to learn. I would love to learn that, because we, none of us know everything. This is such a broad area that it's really impossible to know everything and to have experience in everything. So, you know, being open to learning and being enthusiastic about it, and showing that, you know, you're really committed to kind of lifelong learning. That's what I think it's all about.
Yeah, 100%. I've interviewed people before that have turned up with a stack of certifications and loads of experience, like 8 years working on the platform, working on enterprise projects, working for banks, etc. And we didn't give him the job because we just thought, if we hire you, you'll be a great practitioner, but actually I'm worried about how you would go about your success. Would you enable the people around you as easily as you would enable yourself?
Yeah, and likewise, I'm sure you've run across people that have maybe, you know, just an admin certification, but they have loads of experience. And if you ask them about it, say, well, I have just been too busy to earn my other certifications.
Yeah, I've got two people in my team who have, you know, 10, 12 years experience on the platform and no certifications. One is nervous, the other has just been so busy delivering on Salesforce that they've just not had the time. So
yeah, definitely.
Not everything. They're not everything.
Okay.
And also beware, sorry, one last point before we jump in to the lesson, I think, just to be aware as well that if your goal is to get certified, be careful about where you get your resources from. There are a number of less scrupulous individuals who have been collecting not generating practice exams, but they've been collecting real exam questions and selling them to people as certification dumps. And as an employer, you can tell when someone's got certified through dumps, because you give them a real life scenario to complete and they can't answer it because it's not on the exam. So I would just, you know, if you're looking to get certified, I'm happy to provide some certification resources that you can take advantage of and some things to watch out for. So.
Definitely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you
Okay.
everybody for joining us again. I'm going to hand over to Steve, who is going to take us through a real life project. We're going to work together on sharing using some of the concepts that we talked about on Monday around data security. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Steve. Thank you very much, Steve.
Yep. Oh, thank you, Gemma. And it is a delight to be back here with all of you. Really, this you guys have made my week. I just love this. Well, I was formerly a teacher when we had our last big economic downturn in 2003, 2004. I actually became a high school teacher, and I taught technology and math and science, and I loved it, but I couldn't earn enough money doing it, so I got back into Salesforce. So anyway, I am happy to be here, and I'm going to keep the comment window open. Thank you for the comments. And I would like to kind of present you with a scenario. And for those of you working or thinking about certifications, this is very common, that you get a scenario and you are asked to select the best way to go about implementing it. So let's go over this scenario. And I'm just going to read it off for you. And I'm going to include this. I'm going to include this so for your reference later. I'll send this off to Gemma so that you will have this. Don't feel like you need to type all this up or anything. We're going to walk through all of this together. So you have been hired as a Salesforce consultant to bring order to a chaotic hiring process at Acme Fireworks. After a discovery and analysis session, you came up with the following process, and it was approved for implementation. So here is the process that you put forward. Positions are created by either the VP of Human Resources or a recruiting manager.
Excuse me, Steve, are you sharing your screen?
Oops. I'm not. That would help, wouldn't it? Oh, I'm sorry, everyone.
No problem.
One moment. God, I'm glad you said something.
Yeah, because we'd be like, that's it. This is the scenario. You have to memorize it now.
I'm having just a bit of difficulty saying allow. Okay, I think I got it. How does that look?
Nope.
See this now? You want to see a Microsoft document?
Yes, I think I.
Yes, we're good. Okay, apologies for that.
No problem.
And I want to go back. Okay, so as I was saying, you've been hired as a consultant to bring order to a chaotic hiring process. And we have you have come up with the following process and it's been approved. So positions are created by either two people. So actually, as kind of a side note, I work in an organization that has had kind of a chaotic hiring process, and we have had managers, bring in people that haven't been approved and so forth. So I can relate to this a little bit. I'm trying to get my comments straight. Okay. So anyway, I don't think this is that far-fetched, really. So what you're proposing is that positions be either created by the VP of Human Resources or the recruiting manager. When a position is created, a reporting manager and recruiting manager are assigned to the position. Positions have a status of open or closed. When they are created, they are set to open. A position will be closed when a candidate is either hired or a business decision is made not to hire. And please, if you have any questions, I'm going to stop periodically. sure that we're all good. After a position is created, new candidates will be matched to the position. Hopefully a lot of these, right? Yeah, you would like, as a hiring manager, to have a good pool of candidates. Candidates can be updated. That is candidate records. If we kind of transition back to Salesforce speak, candidates can be updated by HR or the hiring manager. The status of a candidate is tracked with a pick list field. Candidates are first reviewed and may move on to either have an interview scheduled or be declined. After a successful interview, an offer may be made. If they are accepted, they are hired and the position is closed. Right? Seems pretty straightforward. So what we can glean out of this is that we are going to have some roles that we need to create, right? We're going to have some custom objects to create, probably some profiles to create. We also have some business logic that I haven't, we'll see if we have time to get into that. But can you pick out some of the business logic in this?
One thing I would say, Steve, is that we haven't looked at process builder or flow or workflows yet. Okay.
Well, there is definitely an opportunity here to do some of that. And we won't, we'll see how much time we have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. But what I wanted to concentrate on here is the things that we talked about on Monday, and that is, roles, profiles, objects, building a data security model. But we're also going to have to create some objects. We're going to have to create users, and then some records to see how all of this will work, right? Moving on. So, I am going to ask you all to bring up your Trailhead playground, because we are going to need to get to work here. So I'm going to keep this up.
And that's just a note while you're getting that sorted.
Yes.
One of the things that, as you know, what's really important about what we've learned so far is the ability to understand entities. So we've talked about custom objects, we've talked about custom fields. One of the tricks that we have to get used to doing is when we're presented with a scenario that actually doesn't talk about features and doesn't talk about solutions, is to think about what the requirements are. The requirements is that one business problem that's described in a couple of paragraphs, which has no relationship to, custom position is a custom object and is created by the VP or of HR or the recruiting manager. So in that one sentence, when I read that first sentence, I'm unpacking that in my head as I go. A position is an entity. A position is something we have to track. The fact that it's created by the VP of HR or the recruiting manager tells me two things. It tells me, one, that if I'm going to create a position record, there's things I'm going to have to track about it, but also I have to consider who is allowed to create and who is allowed to update that record. We know that's the VP of human resources or the recruiting manager, right? I'm also thinking about permissions and profiles, because not only am I considering my VP of HR and the recruitment manager as individual owners of records, which is the key thing here. I'm also thinking about, even if they own that record, are they allowed to create new ones, for example? So in that one first sentence, I've identified a custom object. I've identified two roles. I don't know how they report to each other just yet, but that's going to be coming out later. And I've also identified two sets of permissions. That's four things that I've unpacked in one sentence there.
Yep, very good. Very good. And I think let's spend a little more time on this. Perhaps we ought to look at the next section here. When a position is created, a reporting manager and a recruiting manager are assigned?
So for me, I'm interested in what the word assigned means. And in my head, I'm thinking, my first thoughts stray towards who's going to own this record. Well, the reporting manager and a recruitment manager are both assigned. Can two people own the same record? No.
No. Nope.
But then my head went to queues, Steve.
Well, probably haven't talked about queues.
I know.
And so, what I have in mind here is that a position, let's say, is created by the VP of Human Resources. It is going to have a field on it, which will indicate who the recruiting manager is and who the reporting manager is. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, these are probably lookup fields. Have we discussed lookup fields?
We have. And then in my mind, if I'm in a customer discussion, I'm thinking, well, actually, if they're both assigned, who is the owner of the record? So then the wider business conversation about, is there ever a situation where a reporting manager would need to own the record? And if the answer to that is no, that tells me who the owner is, but I still need to be able to track who that reporting manager is. So then I start thinking about other ways to represent that. Is it a lookup field, or is it the owner field relabeled? So you see how your brain can kind of go down these routes. In this instance, to keep things simple, I believe, Steve, you're positioning two lookup fields, aren't you, for this one?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, which is for this scenario, is the most simple concept for it. In a business scenario, we'd probably have about an hour's meeting about this.
Right. But it's all that's a really worthwhile discussion, because it could be difficult to change down the road. So you want to get this right at the beginning. Unpacking this next section, positions have a status of opened or closed, and when they are created, they're set to open. So I'm thinking, okay, this is probably a restricted pick list field with a default value set to open when the record's created.
Is there anything else that the team would recommend for this? So I'm going to let you guys, let's have you unpack one of these sentences for us as well. So and I agree with you, positions would be a status of open or closed, and when created, they're set to open. So that for me is easy pick list with a default value. Let's look at the next sentence, guys, and then I'll ask, we can look at the questions. A position will be closed when a candidate is either hired. That's a nasty one, actually. That's an automation.
Yeah, we can ignore that for now.
Yeah, ignore that one for now.
Yeah.
Ignore the next one as well. Let's look at candidates can be updated by HR or by the hiring manager, and the status of a candidate is tracked with a pick list field. Anybody got any thoughts?
Does this seem a little ambiguous to anyone? Updated by HR? I agree. So this is the kind of thing that you would have to say, well, who is HR? And let's just pretend that I've asked that question, and we have obviously the VP of Human Resources, HR, and in our case, the recruiting manager reports to the VP of Human Resources. So they would both be considered HR. Make sense?
So Jeremy says, wouldn't it be because in previous examples, the HR people are not in the reporting tree, at least not directly upstream?
Not in the reporting tree. You mean in the role hierarchy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, we're going to tackle the role hierarchy next. And I'll show you how we decided to do that for this, or at least I decided to do that. So let's move on. And unpacking this, going through this analysis, that is a great step. And I really didn't kind of flush that out in this exercise, but I'm really glad that we talked about it. And thank you, everyone, for joining in. So let's, are we ready to get into this here? So,
go for it.
Yep. So I have 4 roles that we need to create. And could we have started creating objects before roles? We could have. But I kind of thought, let's get our role hierarchy kind of straight in our minds first. Hope that makes sense. VP of Human Resources reports to the CEO. The recruiting manager reports to the VP of Human Resources. The dev manager reports to the VP of Development, and the engineer reports to the dev manager. So go ahead, and I've already done this, but I want you all in your orgs to go ahead and add these 4 roles, okay? And I'm going to just kind of wait, take questions, and see how you've done on that. But the rules are really pretty straightforward. Like if we looked at VP of Human Resources, we give it a label. And all that we really need to know when we're creating it is, who does the role report to? You will see that I have users assigned. That we won't at this point. That can be done later. So let's just get the roles set up, and then we will be ready to move on to the next part. Okay. So I'm going to keep this.
So could you copy them into the chat, please, or leave the Word document up?
Yeah.
What would you like? How would you like to structure this, Steve? Are you going to build as we go, or perhaps maybe someone else could share their screen and we could talk them through it while everyone else does it? What do you think?
I like that. Yeah, I've already. I thought we would build part of this out, but that would be great. Do we have a volunteer that would like to go ahead and build this out, and I can leave this up?
Happy to be tribute again. Kat cracks me up, honestly. Like, her choice of words are brilliant. Jeremy's happy to do it.
And I posted this into the chat.
Okay, Jeremy, may the odds be ever in your favor.
Do I need to stop sharing, Gemma, or do you take care of that?
Oh, good point. Do you know what? Why don't you send me your document? I'll put it on the Google site quickly so that people can get to it. And then we can press ahead with Jeremy. And then guys, if you open up the Google site, you should be able to access the document from there. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I'm glad I didn't run downstairs and just leave you to it.
Thank you for
the bus a little bit.
Okay, you ought to be getting it shortly.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if you want to, Jeremy says, let me share. So let me put this up on the thing for you. Current week's homework and recordings. I'll put it up on that screen and post it into the chat.
So happy to have volunteers. This is great.
Oh yeah, it helps for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, it's just coming. So what's the first thing they need to do? So
yeah,
I hope
so yeah, creating these roles. We're basically going to create roles, then create the objects, create the users and profiles. And I have to warn everyone, there are some kind of painful limitations with playgrounds that I found out, like the number of active users you can have at a time. So
yes, I think it's 2.
Yeah, so it's going to make the final part of this a little more challenging as we try and activate users and create records. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, Steve, is this the same version as the document you sent me yesterday?
It's slightly updated. This is a little bit more current.
Okay, just reloading. Sorry, it's still flying across the Atlantic.
It's a long ways.
It is a long way. Just talk about cat CEO. Oh, come on.
And I saw a couple of comments that people have tried to link to me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And I apologize if I haven't connected yet, but I will do so. And, I am happy to, if you have questions down the road, if you're working on that certification and want some tips, just like Gemma said, I'm happy to help you out as well. There are definitely, if you're working on certifications, there's definitely some kind of good tactics and strategies to use, things to be aware of, as well as just, having the knowledge.
Sorry, guys, it's still not arrived.
Really?
Yeah. Just taking a few moments to come through. You're all busy doing your role hierarchy anyway, aren't you?
Yep.
Steve, could you put the Word document back up so we can start working on the role hierarchy? Thank
you. Sure. There you go. Yep. So the VP of Human Resources reports to the CEO. You want to create a recruiting manager that reports to the VP of Human Resources. And then a development manager that reports to the VP of Development. And I'm assuming you have a VP of Development. That may not have been a good assumption. So you may actually have to create that one as well. I've been reusing my playground for a few different projects, so it may have had some stuff in it that I assumed it just came with. But
when I started working on my CTA, I had a real struggle with the idea of making assumptions. It's arrived because there's always the phrase that says assumption is the mother of all screw-ups. So as a consultant, I have been in meetings before where people have talked about assumptions, and I've said, well, you've made this assumption and now it's going to affect your solution. Have you validated that assumption? Well, no, we'll present it back to the customer when it's time to show them. And I said, and what could you do in the meantime to make sure that when you do present it back to the customer's not sitting there going, well, this isn't what I asked for. Oh, well, I suppose I could ask them, but I don't really want to bother them. And I'm just like, ask them now.
Yes. I always like questions. Silence from when I hire consultants always kind of makes me feel uneasy.
Yeah, and when I started working towards my CTA, certified technical architect, it's like the nastiest of all nasty Salesforce exams. And you have a 9-page scenario that you have to translate into a full-on IT landscape within 2 hours. And
I was wondering how much time they give you for that. Just 2 hours, huh?
Yes, I believe they're making some adjustments to that, but you have a 45-minute presentation and 40-minute Q&A, and it's really not a lot of time.
No.
That's quite a challenge. So, and it's supposed to be. You're supposed to really know your stuff when you go through that. So, you know, there's a lot of people. I do a lot of work with people who have struggled to believe in themselves, including myself, around doing that exam because it is such a nasty exam. I failed it last year. It's known. Most people fail it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
but
I have failed my share of Salesforce certifications.
Yeah, we all have as well. That's the other thing.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you just don't know if you're ready or not, and you know it's worth it. If giving it a shot will let you focus, and I know sometimes I kind of need a kick in the butt to buckle down a little bit more. How's the role hierarchy going, everyone? VP of development. Yes, you're correct. Good as slowly. Okay.
Okay, everybody. I have uploaded Steve's wonderful document, and it has been published to the site. Let me give you the link. I'll put that straight in the chat for you.
And I'm going to switch over to my playground and show you what it looks like, because that may help you.
And then we can get
here's this VP of development that my assumption was that you all had that, and of course you didn't. So it reports to the CEO.
Anyone sick of creating roles yet?
This is the easy part. Yeah.
So I think there's a little pop out symbol, top right hand corner of the document on the side. You pop that out, it should take you to the Google Drive file. Now let me make sure I've opened that up for sharing, because before I start getting a million requests to access it. Share.
Yes, I could put both of these up.
Anyone with the link can view with no sign on. There we go. Right.
This is kind of what we're after here at the bottom.
Okay, so you've got VP of HR, you've got reporting manager. Not a very flat company, no. Okay, I've opened up the sharing for that document. So if you weren't able to access it before because it said it wasn't shared, just refresh the page and then pop out the document, and hopefully you should be able to see it then. And you may even be able to download it. Afshan says, does VP of development report to the CEO? It certainly looks like it. I would hope so.
Yes.
We've got a rogue VP of development.
No. Sometimes you may have a CTO with a VP of development reporting to them. At my company, I've been really pushing them to have a CTO, because we have a CEO that wants everyone reporting to him.
I go by the mantra that you can't expect to have every single skill in the world.
Steve.
Yes.
If you were displaying the roles in the hierarchy, would we then see the VP of development, underneath that, the dev manager, underneath that, the engineer? Is that, I can't tell. Oh, okay, there I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the dev manager reports to the VP of development, and the software engineer reports to the dev manager.
Got it. Is it best practice to create the roles in the hierarchy before creating the objects, or the other way around?
It's really up to you. Yeah, it all depends.
Sometimes you might find yourself going back and forth depending on your data model, especially if you have a master detail relationship that you create at some place in your data model. That can happen, yeah. Ideally, what we try to do is at least plot out and plan out our strategy for approaching, which is what Steve has done in this document. He's actually documented, this is what I'm planning to do. And then once you get building and you start testing, you know, it's quite normal to make little changes here and there because, you know, just to accommodate anything, any gotchas that spring out at you once you've started building.
That's right. And especially with data security, sometimes there are surprises about who can see what or who has access to things. And there can just be some unforeseen work that you need to do down the road to fix that. I think that's pretty normal. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, you don't have to assign users yet. We're going to do that later. We don't have, we need to create profiles before we can assign users. So before we create users, we need two things. We need a role hierarchy and we need profiles. So we were going to have Jeremy sharing, right?
I can. I'm just starting to work on the objects.
Oh, okay. Well, let me know when everyone is done with roles, because I'd like to go through the objects kind of together.
Okay. Well, I might have gotten the roles wrong. So.
Well, we can take a look. It's if they look something like this, you probably got it right. And in my exercise, we're not really stress testing the hierarchy that much. I mean, we could, but it would take just a little bit more effort to do that. We ready to move on to objects? Think, everyone? Should we do that? I'm going to wait for thumbs up in the chat window before we move on.
Are we still going to get Jeremy to share?
I'm happy to share. I don't know how to screen to share. I think, Gemma, I think you have to enable.
You want to?
I think what all you have to do is just press the present button, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop presenting. Yeah, let's take a look at what Jeremy has here.
Can you see?
Yeah, sure. You might need to zoom in just a little bit.
Let's see if I can do that. How's that?
That's perfect.
Okay, so here's our roles. The VP of development with the dev manager. A VP of development reports up to the CEO here. And underneath the VP of development, there's a dev manager, and below them an engineer. I also created a VP of human resources. My org already had a senior VP of human resources reporting to the CEO, and I found that sometimes the names are very particular on specific names, so I just created a second VP of Human Resources, reporting to the CEO. And then underneath them, a recruiting manager.
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Yep, your names are slightly different. You know, you have engineer instead of software engineer, but that's fine.
Oh, I can fix that if you like.
I don't think it would really make any difference. As long as what you will need to do is just kind of keep it straight in your system as we're moving along.
Okay.
Oh, you were right. I called it engineer. I was wrong. So just keep it, Jeremy.
Okay. I think I misspelled position. Yep, I did.
And I'm going to fix the label on my role to just be engineer.
Position. Maybe not.
No, that's good.
Okay.
All right.
So now within the position, I just created a pretty much straightforward custom object. Oh, that's where it is. That's where the spelling error is. Oh, there we go. Okay. So that's my new custom object. Now within the custom object, I started working on fields.
Okay.
Has anybody spotted anything I've missed? I have the chat window closed, so Gemma or Steve, if you'll just speak up, because I can't see both at the same time.
Sure. So yeah. So we can see you've got your custom object, and then you got your standard fields.
Yep. And then I started creating custom field description. Text area, and if you want, I can go into that for a moment if you prefer.
That looks good.
Okay, and then the max salary, I worked on that.
Right.
And then the status. And this one I was a little confused because I wasn't sure what you meant by restricted and open as default. I thought that
okay. Yeah, why don't you click on that? Let's take a look. Let's, yeah, could you scroll down a little bit more here? Or why don't you, yeah, scroll down a little bit more. So you have it set to required.
Yep.
And you have it set to restricted. So
I see it. Yep.
Yeah, so that's good. So required means that every position will need a status.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right?
Yep.
And you can't start entering in other values for the status other than what we have, laid out here.
So then, do I need to tie this to? If this is if this pick list is restricted, do I need to define the pick list within this status field, or do I tie it to a child table or a child custom?
Yeah, we don't need to tie it to anything yet, but you will need to enter values for your pick list.
Okay, pick list. All right, so let me edit this. Pick list. So then,
yep,
choose pick list from pick list to values. Wouldn't I want to somewhere in here? I thought there was a way for me to define what those pick lists, what those options were, and I assume it would be open or closed based on your description.
There is. When you say based on description, so if you scroll up a little bit. Bit more. Okay, right. It is a data type pick list. That's because you've actually already got you've already created your field. So if you want to change the pick list values themselves, You have to save this.
I have to what?
You have to save this, and then you have to click on the actual name of the field instead of clicking edit.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I know you're there actually. So if you scroll down, you should be able to see your pick list values. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
But it can be misleading for people who are new to Salesforce if the instinct is to click edit next to a field. And if you want to change any other field that isn't a pick list, then that's how you would do it. If it's a pick list field, though, you've got almost like a master detail relationship between the pick list and all of the values that belong to it. So that's where you have to click on the actual name of the pick list in order to get to the related lists underneath, which is what you're looking at right now, which is the values.
Okay, so this is the list where it will the choice, I'll have to choose either open or closed.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And new records, since you have the default checked, when you create a new record, it's going to be set to open. So that just kind of alleviates your user from having to do that, and also just can keep your data cleaner.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So that was status.
That looks
The
good.
next one is hiring manager. So I'm going to go back to fields and relationships and add a new field. And
Yep.
the hiring manager is a lookup to user. So lookup relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And next. And related to, I don't know if I have a user table. Is that? There it is.
It's there. You have to way down at the bottom.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. All right. And field, this is going to be, the field is recruiting manager.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I've got a mess in my org, so I'm trying to put notes on everything so I can figure out what I did later.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, so
so you've already created. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Well, positions was the first one I created in that table.
Okay, good.
I don't know that I need to do anything else with this.
That looks good to me.
Okay. And so then the next object would be the candidate object. Oh, wait, relationship.
Yep. So you did the recruiting manager. So now we need a hiring manager as well.
Oh, I forgot the hiring manager. Oops. Okay. So field level security. Should I just leave it the way it is with the security?
Yeah, just accept the defaults here. Normally, we would probably pay a little more attention to this, but we're just to be expedient. We're going to.
Okay, and so now I just need the hiring manager. That's the last new field on the last.
That looks like it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make that quick. Hiring manager, look up to user. User, next. Okay. Whoops. Here, child relationship name. That should not. That doesn't.
You know, I would just.
It's complicated.
Yeah, I would ignore that for now.
Okay, I'll leave it. Okay.
Let's not worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to explain offline.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, there's you know, a lot of details we can go into, but really.
Okay, so the
keep it at a high level.
So the new possession object as created has the custom field of description,
Yep.
this custom field of max salary, the custom field of status,
Mm-hmm.
the custom field of hiring manager,
Looks good.
the custom field of recruiting manager.
Excellent.
Okay, so next, do you want me to keep going?
It's fine with me, unless, is
Gemma,
that good with
somebody
you?
else want to turn? Gemma?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, somebody else turn to create the candidate. I'm happy to continue.
Anyone else want to go? Speak now. If you don't, we assume that. No. Okay, you're doing great.
You're on the roll, Jeremy.
So I'm going to create a new custom object for candidate. Right. And candidate. Oops. Darn it, that's spelling. Okay. Object name, candidate. Okay, so this standard content name, that looks fine. Data type text. Reports.
Now, one other thing that you may find helpful is to click that Launch New Custom Tab Wizard.
Oh, okay. Will that take me automatically into the tabs and fields and
It will, because we will need custom tabs for both of these to be able to create records.
Oh, okay.
So,
do I want to create the tabs before I create all the fields or the new custom fields?
I can't remember which order it does it, but you'll be fine. It'll all work out.
All right. In my head, I organize, I think, custom object, then finish up the custom object by adding the custom fields, and then the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. It just saves a step if we do that here.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going to ask you for the tab. So the tab style, you have a lot of choices. If you click the magnifying glass,
Like one
you
for
can
people, person or something.
go ahead and pick whatever
There's one.
suits your fancy.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about splash page. I'm not even sure I'd worry about a description here. Just go ahead and click next.
Okay.
He said, "Don't put a description in."
I know. Well, I'm trying to be conscious of all the other folks who are listening. So
it's
I'll let you off.
Thank you. Okay.
So, Jeremy, what are we looking at here? Can you tell us what we're doing here with the profiles and what are we doing with the list of profiles?
So my understanding is this just means that the global setting means that everybody should be able to see this tab. But does that mean, do I have to, since the tab is part of the object, if I don't have the object visible to everybody? But I thought that was also listed as everybody can see it.
If you can't see the object, so if you on your profile have nothing ticked for that object, even if you cannot have access to read, create, edit, or delete that object, you won't see the tab.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've seen
I'm doubting myself now. Because what I think would happen is you might see the tab, you click on it, and it will say insufficient privileges.
I think you're right, Gemma.
So there are 3 options there for tab visibility, and default on means that whenever any of those users log in, because you've got default on per profile, that tab will be shown across the top by default. If it's default off, You won't see it across the top, but you'll still be able to access the tab through the app launcher, which is your 9 dots in the corner.
Okay, up there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then tab hidden means what it says on the tin.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can just keep the default on for the,
Okay. Okay.
to make
So I'll go
things
to the next.
easier. Hmm.
You threw a curveball at me by jumping from custom objects and custom fields.
I did. Well, this worked out well because you can do it either way. You can create your tabs later or do it now. And we will need to create a tab for the position object.
Okay.
So for the sake of expediency, I would just click save here.
Okay. Okay. So does that mean I need to create a tab for the, eventually go back and create a tab for the position object as well?
As well, yes.
Okay. So let's
And
finish making the candidate object because it's only got, it does not have all the necessary fields.
hmm
Okay, so we need position, status, phone, and SSN. Okay.
hmm
All right. So new position, lookup to position, new lookup relationship. To position.
And you can see the order that we create these makes a difference, right?
Yes, I can see that.
Yep. So if you kind of think of your relationship of objects as a tree, you need to be working from the top going down because you could have several layers of objects. We just have, this is pretty simple.
Okay. And this basically means that even if the tab was there, this says all the people can see this. This is the field within the object, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And normally we would spend time kind of really going through this, making sure that only the correct people could see this, but
Okay.
we are moving on to bigger and better things.
Sounds good. Okay. Add reference field to page layouts, position lookup.
Yep, you can click next here. We're just going to automatically add these fields to the page layout.
It's related to candidates. Yep, save a new. So now I go to state, create a new one, status.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a pick list, which is down here. It's just a single pick list. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, and we're going to call this status. Ugh.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Having issues with my capitalization.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. And restricted, yes. No default. So we don't want to start with the. I would think that you want to start with interview schedule. Well, I suppose not, because maybe you don't want to schedule an interview. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, you could argue that maybe it makes sense to automatically go to review, but I'm just thinking, you may have, just some real jokers applying on your website, and you don't even want them considered for review.
Got it. That makes sense.
So let's just leave it like that.
Okay. Okay. Those all look normal. We're going to stick with those, yes?
We're going to stick with those.
Okay. Okay.
And we're going to.
Two more. What's that?
Yep.
2 more.
That's right.
Phone.
And obviously, you know, in a real life scenario, you'd be collecting a lot more information about a candidate, but
Sure.
I want to just keep it simple here.
All right. The phone number is not required.
Yeah, what do you think? Should
Well, I think a lot of these openings start with email. So, I mean, I know that the positions I hire for, they don't get my phone number for a little while. Usually,
right, okay.
Usually it starts with the email or something. So,
Okay.
okay, and then that looks. We're gonna stick with that, and then save a new. Oh no! So this is interesting. This, you know, it's your exercise, but Social Security number being required this early in the game. I don't know. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I only did that because this is a field that we want to control with field level security.
Got it.
But
Okay.
you're right. This is usually wouldn't be asked for, but
Got it.
thanks for playing along.
Length is 20.
And Social Security numbers are a US thing, not a UK thing. So there must be an equivalent in the UK.
There is. It's a national insurance number, and it's something that we would typically only give to HR for the purposes of onboarding and setting up your income tax.
Okay, always required.
So do not allow duplicates is an interesting one, because if you, let's say you created 2 candidate records who had the same social security number, this would actually prevent, what you're actually doing is recognizing that that's the unique identifier for that individual. So it would actually have a go at you if you tried to create a second record with the same social security number.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's good to do this when you can and when it makes sense. Yeah.
So quick question, given that we're going to talking about this globally, a lot of people are other places. I'm assuming other countries use things besides social security numbers. Do some of those other identifiers contain letters, and is case sensitive? Are they case sensitive? So in this case, you know, with social security numbers, only numbers, so they don't have to worry about case. But if your medical ID, Gemma, in England, in Great Britain, has letters.
Yes, so actually the national insurance number in the UK, okay, I'll get it for you, darling. In the UK, our national insurance numbers do actually tend to start with 2 letters and end with 1.
Okay.
So in this case, we would actually say it is case insensitive, but then we might put a validation rule in there to enforce a certain format.
Okay.
We do that with VAT numbers quite a lot. That can get hefty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's required here and unique here. So I'm going to next. And we're going to stick with these same ones.
How do I edit a field after I've created it? So Kat, you need to go and find it. And depending on whether it's a pick list field or not, if it's a pick list field, you just click on the name of the field and you should be able to edit the values. If it's not a pick list field, you just go to the you just go to the field itself and click edit next to it, which should be in one of the drop downs next to it, or you can click on the field itself and just hit edit, the edit button.
Where was it? Down here? Pick list options. Right. Where is it? Right there. So is this what she's talking about?
Not sure.
Okay. All right.
But
Well,
thank
so
you.
I think we can keep going. I have the position object and the candidate object. So we've looked over the position object. So here, let's look at the candidate object. Let me go back to the beginning of that. So here's the candidate object. And I have the custom field of position.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a it's a lookup to position. And I have a custom field of status, and it's the pick list. If you want, I can take us there so we can look at the pick list to make sure that the make offer.
I think you're good, Jeremy.
Okay. And then phone is a custom field of phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think we defined it as just numbers without anything. And then social security number, a text field that's unique,
yeah,
and has 20 characters long. So I think that are the two custom objects we needed to create, I think.
Right. So Jeremy, I'm wondering if you can do something.
Yes.
Could you go to setup? And so we have created two objects with a relationship. And in the quick find box, can you put Schema Builder?
Mm.
And
Ooh, I love
the Schema Builder. So this may be something you guys haven't seen before, but I wanted to kind of introduce it.
So I need position and candidate. Hold on a second.
Yep, and you need to clear out your other objects.
Okay.
So if you select the clear all, and then in quick find, you can put position. Start typing, yep, select that. And then candidate, select that. And now you see what we have here. It is showing you the relationship. And in Salesforce, well, I guess in any kind of general database design, we call this an entity relationship or an entity relationship diagram. And I really like this because it gives you a good visual representation of what you've just created. And you can see the fields there. What do you think the red indicates?
Required field.
Yes, indeed. And so this is a good way to double check that all the fields that you know have the right names, we haven't had any typos, all the types look correct. So what is this telling us? So we have a position and then we have this linkage to candidate.
Does it mean that this candidate field, instead of this being a series of pick lists, it's pulling its data from this table? So if I were to add 7 more positions to the position table, I'd see those additional 7 positions in this lookup field in candidate.
That's a good guess, but no.
Oh, okay.
It is just telling us that we have a relationship between candidate records and position records. And we call this a one-to-many. So for every one position, you can see it looks like kind of a tree with like 3 branches.
Yes.
That's the symbol for like you can have many candidate records all tied to one position record. Which is what we want, right? We would like to put out a position on our website and then have 20, 30, 40 candidates all apply for it. So does this make sense to everyone?
Should remember we did the entity relationship data modeling that we did?
Yep, and the other thing in this little window, you can you can control the scale, and also you can make it bigger, smaller. But I find this is very handy, and I use this almost every day just to remind myself how things are related, and it's a double check on the work that I've done.
Can you use this to create? Can you create the fields and edit the fields from within this schema builder?
You can, yes, you can. Yep, you have a different way. And that little drop down, you can view object. Well, can you actually edit the fields? I'm not sure.
You can at a very limited level. one thing I have noticed is when you create objects through Schema Builder and you create fields through Schema Builder, some of the things that are missing are field level security and page layouts don't get changed.
Okay. Now, Jeremy, I want you to add.
Say that again, Steve.
I want you to in the quick find box, I want you to put in user, because we do have relationships to user. Oh, no, if you go back, sorry. You go back to that. Yeah, in there, put in user. And okay, maybe we need to expand this. Kind of, you can drag and rearrange things. And all of a sudden, it looks like we have kind of a mess. And when you may think, what the heck is this all about, right?
Okay.
And anyone have any ideas what's going on here? Why do we have so many, this just looks like spaghetti, right? What do you think is going on here? I mean, I would expect on the candidate we had, or on the position we had 2 lookup fields to user, but it appears that we have 5 of them, right? And on the candidate, I don't remember any lookup fields to user, and it looks like there's 3.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's take a look. So maybe in another tab, if we go look at the position object again, if we look at the fields in the position object.
Okay.
How many actual fields do we have going to the user? Yeah, let's take a look. Let's take a look here at our fields. Okay, whoa, wait a minute. Created by. That's a lookup to the user.
Oh, are those standard fields that are created when you, because when I created the object of position and I created it connected to user, it came pre-built with a couple of fields.
Yeah, well, you're right. Every object has to have an owner, which you can see down there, and it is created by someone. So these just kind of come along for the ride, right?
Okay.
They are standard fields that are always there. And those are the ones showing up on that Schema Builder. Go back there. And if you kind of hover over them, you can see their names. So that's the lookup, position to user. Okay. It's not really I thought maybe it would tell you more information, but it's not.
Would it show, well, over here on the left under position, it says look up to user, look up to user, look up to see it created by, right here, look up to user, hiring manager, look up to user, last modified, look up to user. So since those are lookups, I can guess that those were the
links. Yeah. So those are things just come along with every record in Salesforce, because remember, every record has to have an owner, and we didn't talk about created by, but that's something Salesforce tracks.
Okay.
All right.
I'm happy to continue, or Gemma, if somebody else would like a turn.
So next, let me see what we have on tap here. So we have created our objects. Jeremy, I think it would mean we need to go back and create that one custom tab.
Yep. Why
don't we do that while you still have the screen here? So we need to go to setup.
Yep. And I forget which one we created the tab for and which one we did not. We created it for candidate, not for position, correct?
I think so.
Okay. So tabs, I don't know where that is.
Yeah, you need to, if you go back to setup, and if you put in tabs in the quick find.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Still learning.
Well, of course.
So
I can see all the tabs that you have here, and we need to create a new one.
Okay. Where there,
Custom object tabs.
there we go.
Yep.
For position.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that candidate's not listed there.
Interesting. So are these all the things, custom objects I've created in my org that don't have tabs?
It would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. We'll just make it a
Pick
cap.
a new style. That's really up to you.
Okay.
And go ahead and put in the description, since that caused Gemma so much pain before.
Thank you for your empathy.
I don't want to be a bad role model. My goodness.
Okay. And this will make it visible to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
which is different from they can edit it, but okay.
Yep.
Pen tab user. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so we have our objects, we have our tabs. Why don't we go back to and see and just kind of check and make sure that those tabs are really there.
Okay.
So yeah, under the selector, there you go. Yep, I see position. So we're set to create records here, but we're not. We need a few more things before we start creating data.
Okay. So there's the candidate and okay. So I can see both the candidate and the position tab across the top.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Okay. So let's go back to setup.
So I think I really liked this of watching other people do the work. So I'm totally down with that. So let's
with you.
Let's get another volunteer.
Okay. I will stop.
Anyone want to step forward? We're going to be creating profiles.
How do I stop the share?
If no one volunteers, I'm going to pick someone.
I think we ought to pick Kat.
Okay, Kat, you're up.
Let me see if I remember how to share my screen.
Yeah, that's the hardest part in this.
I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Present now. It's because you have to like. I want to do your entire screen. Screen one. Share. Magic. Watching it load. Can you see something?
Yes, can see Schema Builder.
Yes. Uh-huh.
This thing is so cool. I really like this.
Yeah, it's very good.
It was kind of a revelation to me when I discovered Schema Builder. It's like I was really happy to see that.
Nice. Closing all my random tabs. Yeah. So what are we doing now?
Okay, so we are going to be creating some profiles. So why don't you go to Setup. Profiles. And let's go ahead and select the new. Now, one thing about profiles, yep, click new. And you'll see that it automatically populates an existing profile. So it always wants to like base your profile on an existing one. We are going to choose standard user. So if you look through that list, that is kind of a good generic place to start. And let's see, we want a profile called human resources.
Not people.
I guess I'm old school. People. Yeah, I'm old school. Okay, so now we have to think about what this human resources profile needs access to. And on my Word document, I had a little table here, and we are going to go in to, why don't you select the position object?
Position object.
Yep, so you may scroll down.
Geez, this was long. The standard object positions. Where is the position object?
And it might be easier if you did like a quick Control F and then search the page for position.
I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah, maybe not. Okay.
That? This thing? People are
That's it,
typing in
yes.
the chat.
Well, that is the layout. Yeah, go ahead and click that.
Right below standard objects under custom objects. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. But this is the layout, and that was 1 of 6. Okay, so what's next? 2. Field level security, custom tab.
Yeah, so field level security is a bit further. You can tell by the fact that there's only 1 link instead of like 2 next to it.
Yep. So if we were in edit mode, you'd be able, yep, you were in the right position there.
This one?
So I think if you go up to the top, Kat, and select edit, because we want to be able to modify it. Yep, here we go. And let's now do right there. So position object, the human resources, we need to be able to create, read, and edit. Select those. So you see by default, whoops, it's right below.
Sorry, wrong one.
Read, create, edit. Now, let me ask you this. Why can't we delete this? Why wouldn't that make sense to give human resources permission to delete?
I mean, I'm not sure. I guess that's not their role.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a choice, right? And there can be rules about how, like, you know, having to, for auditing purposes and organizations, they can't like delete candidates or positions. So that's the how we're leaving it for now. Just read, create, and edit.
Cool.
So that looks good. So I think we can accept the defaults on the rest of this. So you can go back up to the top and do put in a description here.
HR profile.
Yeah. Okay, we got one down. Next, we need a manager profile.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should I just clone this one, or should I go back and then do the new thing?
Cloning that would be nice. Yeah, it's a good way to go about it. Because it's going to be very similar to this. So this is called manager.
Because you've got two, because you've got, so I'm kind of wondering what I'm following here, because user 1, VP human resources, profile human resource. So I'm making a human resources profile, a manager profile, and an employee profile. Yeah.
Correct. So go ahead and click edit again. And let's scroll down to where the important stuff is that we need that access here. Now, manager. So I have in my document, I have read, create, edit, but I have an asterisk by the edit. And my note is that only allow editing of records that the hiring manager has been assigned.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you think that means in terms of that edit? Do we want them to have edit object level access?
No. Don't think so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So turn that one off. So it's really at the object level for position. It's just read and create. Yeah, we need to save that, but we also need to set permissions for the candidate object in profiles.
And then that was read asterisk SSN hidden.
Yep. So we want all the managers to be able to read. But we're going to control visibility again. So.
So did you want me to take that one or not though?
So let's leave that unticked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good.
Mm-hmm. But then I would need to go back in the other profile and just edit that one so that it has the.
Yep, correct.
Candidate thing. Human resources. Edit. Candidate.
Just to clarify, the profile you just edited, that was not the HR one, was it? Which one was it?
Manager.
That was the manager.
That was the manager. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a few questions in the chat. People are getting a little bit lost. So let's can we just recap on what we've been changing?
Sure. Yep. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and save that, Kat?
Sure. I just went back to the human resources profile. So that's this one, HR profile, because we had only looked at the position field in that profile, not the candidate field. So now I've gone back down there and had a look at the candidates field as well, so that these are correct here.
So this, what you're looking at the moment is the objects themselves. So you're looking at what permissions do I allow users who are assigned to this profile to access, and to get to that, as you can see on Kat's on the left of Kat's screen, she's got the quick find, and she started typing profile, and then she found the profiles section, and then she's gone in and clicked into HR manager, and she's clicked edit, and it's a very long page. You've got to kind of scroll all the way through the different settings. So she's quite near the bottom of that page, and she's just evaluating the permissions that are being assigned to both the permit positions and the candidates objects. So I hope, is that clearer for everybody? Okay, thanks, Samira.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah, and there's lots of, obviously there are a ton of options you can set in profiles, and we can dig into that for a long time, but we're just really interested in the permissions for these two objects.
Cool. But then that's all ready for the human resources profile. And then for the other profile, which was manager. Oh, I went to the wrong place. That was not good. No. Okay. Back to profiles. Human resources we've done. And then we have also the manager profile, which is, I guess, on the next page. Next, manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think this one was already how it was meant to be, but I can just quickly check. So positions is create and read, confusingly in a different order, and not edit, because the edit had an asterisk because that was going to be done in a different place. And then candidates has nothing ticked because that was also going to be done in a different place.
Very good.
Cool. So then I will save that.
So we have one last profile to take care of, and that is the employee profile.
Mm-hmm. Have I made that one? I don't think I have. So then I will clone
go ahead
this.
and clone that one. Yep.
Call it employee Save. Edit.
Well, we've cloned the first one, so it just inherits the same.
So you're saying that now those things will be tick tick where I. That's interesting. So I should have gone and done new instead of clone. I'll untick that anyway. But now this has nothing because as far as I couldn't see what employee was allowed to do in this list.
Well, employee has read access to position.
Sorry, I can see that here. Yeah.
So we
read
want
max.
Yep. So we want our employees to see what open positions there are so that they can refer their friends. But we don't want them to be able to see any of the candidates.
Yep.
Looks good.
Cool. And then we save. No one appears to have delete permission on our objects. Good thing or bad? Problems with it?
Yeah, and we kind of talked about that. So, what is next? So we have, let's see, to recap, we have our roles created, we have our profiles, we have our objects. Next, we need our users. Do you want to carry on, Kat, and create those?
Can do. So then I search for, I guess users was already there. So I type in users in the quick find, and then I click on users. And then as the note here says, the limit is 2 active users at a time for Trailhead Playground. So as you create them, you will need to deactivate to be allowed to create more, which is funny.
Yeah, it's a little, it's a little bit of juggling, but so we'll get to that. So we're going to create our users without them being active initially. So go ahead and create new user. I use names personally, I just as test users, I put in part of the role in their name so I could easily track who they were.
Fair enough.
You could make up any name you want, really.
And then she needs an actual email, right?
Yes. And
it's very fun to just email Melanie@gmail.com when you get a very confusing email like, I have a Salesforce user. That's maybe mean.
You could, it could be a test. You could use test.com if you want, don't want it to go to anyone. So Salesforce emails don't need to be unique, but usernames do.
Nickname. Wow, that's a great nickname.
Yeah. And we're not going to bother with the titles and all the rest, but we do need to pick out our role
descriptions. We didn't do that, but remember she said you should always really be adding descriptions.
So, Kat, go ahead and choose a role.
Ooh, echo today. Someone needs to mute. Woo. Role VP Human Resources. Ta-da. User license, Salesforce platform. Profile, standard platform, not active.
And you actually, so here, Kat, you actually want to choose Salesforce and not the Salesforce platform.
Sorry.
They make it a little confusing. Okay, and profile. We want that human resources profile we just created. Yeah, there we go. And do not make, let's try and turn the active off if you can.
Doesn't let me. Sad. No, I guess I have to do that later. And then save a new. Or I guess I need to save and then deactivate and then make a new one.
Okay, yeah.
Save. And then
and then go back and you may have to click edit, turn it off. It's a little funky, but it's because of this limitation that we have.
Cool. And
Okay,
then
one
save and new. Oh, hello. Okay.
I've lost your screen.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what I clicked. Whatever I clicked, it went wrong.
I don't know. Can anyone else still see me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think everyone's fine. It's just me. Don't worry.
Yep.
Cool.
I can see too.
Ah, I can see it. Woohoo!
Yay. Okay.
Okay.
So this will be the, if we're following along here in my table, this will be the recruiting manager. Yeah, very good.
The recruiting manager, Salesforce, profile is HR.
Yes.
Cannot untick active.
Nope.
And save. So I have, I cloned from the previous one, and then I have put it as the recruiting manager as the next one, and I've called it Janet because I can. And then recruiting manager, Salesforce HR, save.
Save.
And then I will immediately edit it to make it inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Tick. Thank you. And then I go save and new.
And you've done that because you're freeing up a license, you're freeing up a seat so that you can create another user.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a silly thing that we have to do.
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday actually, about when are you using up a license, etc. We're good.
Now I'm making the dev manager, whose role is dev manager, Salesforce, and she has the manager profile. Ta-da! Name is Julia, because I can. Oh, I didn't like Julia. Julia@test.com.
Oh,
Really?
somewhere you've used that before.
Well, I called Julia. Okay. Juliet then.
Somebody else has done it.
Oh.
So every username at that is created across every org across the world is unique. So if I tried to put Gemma at architectclub.com and it was somebody else's org, it would shout at them because there's already a Gemma at Architect Club on my org. So there's obviously a Juliet.com.
So funny, but not a Juliet, so that was fine. And then I came in and I unticked active and save and new. Save, and then we have another dev manager.
Yes. Yes, we have a couple here.
This can be Michelle, dev manager. MDev, Michelle at test.com. Oh, rest.com, even better.
That would
Michelle, test.com. She is no, she's a dev manager. Salesforce, and then the profile is manager. And save.
indeed.
High contrast palette on charts. Data.com. Michelle was also used rude.
See, if you kept it at rest.com, you would have been fine.
Yeah, that's what I get for not resting. Classic. Oh my God.
You can keep the first name, but just edit the username.
Yeah, but then it's inconsistent and it would bother me. So it all needs to be the same.
Why? Okay.
Oh, love it.
Yes, you guys are teaching me good habits.
Okay. Save and new. But you have deactivated her. Yes, because of your limitations, Playground. And then we have an engineer. And her name can be Joan. I don't know why. I have very limited, apparently. I only know female names starting with J or M. She's an engineer. And who bets that Joan at test.com is taken, but I'm going to try it anyway. And Joan is an engineer, and she is on Salesforce, and her profile is employee. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Will it let me have Joan? Did not let me have Joan.
Okay, I'm just going to let you guys know we have 15 minutes left of class time.
Jennifer.
Yep. So we're going to.
There's definitely going to be a.
Hopefully, we'll be able to create a few records here.
Jen. It's bothering me a lot now. Just let.
There'll be a Jen.
What about 2N Jen?
I bet there's not a Frodo.
There's not a what?
I bet there's no Frodo.
Oh, got double Jen.
Okay.
I'm ticking active, and that's the last one. So then
That's the last one. Okay, we have our users. So
magic.
Save. And so Kat, we're just going to keep going with you. I hope you're okay with this.
Not a problem.
We're going to, now we need to start creating some records. And what's the first record? What do you think the order is going to be for this?
First, create a position record and then candidate. Sorry, you wrote it down.
Indeed, yep. So we need, in order to create a position record, we need to be either the recruiting manager or the VP of Human Resources. So what we need to do is activate one of those users.
Right. So recruiting manager, we can activate Janet. Active, save.
And now you need to log in as this person. But if you were able to do that, you would see a little login link, which you don't have. So you need proper permission to do that. And so what we need to do is in setup, click logins, or type in logins.
Login access policies.
Logins. So logins and
There's no logins.
Assist admin. Go ahead and try that. I don't think it's right. I must not have.
Admin can log in at any user. Enable.
Yes. There we go.
Save.
Yeah. So by default that wasn't set. And now if we go back and check our users, we may need to
log in. Interesting.
Okay.
Sorry, I was fast again. I went and found Janet or whoever you have, and then I click login next to her name.
Okay.
And now it's in Norwegian. How fun is this? Thank you for that. Great.
Okay.
Apparently everyone's going to learn Norwegian today. So I'm logged in as Janet, and then I need to make a new position record.
Yeah, this is going to be real interesting. So this is in German, is that?
No, it's Norwegian.
Oh.
I live in Norway.
Oh, okay.
So for those playing at home, this means recently viewed.
Okay.
Should I change the language, or should we just keep going with this?
If you could change the language real quick, I'm afraid we're all going to get confused.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Gemma, where do I change languages? I don't know. I know that we did it at some point, or maybe I had to do it at some point.
It's under your company profile.
Company profile.
Yeah, so if you type
Firmainnstillinger, yeah.
Whatever that is.
Språkinnstillinger.
Whatever.
Language settings. See, and the URL tells us what it is, so that's okay. We're staying at home. Loading. I don't have permission.
Record itself, and then edit your own user record. You can change the language to English.
Okay, how do I change my user record? Do I find Janet?
User.
Oh no, what is user in Norwegian? Brukere. Yep. Okay. Oh, this is fun.
Oh, this is great.
Okay.
Edit.
You find yourself, and then you scroll down to the bottom, and it's worth just paying some attention to this bit actually, because in where it says Sprok, and you got it in Norwegian, you can change the language there. But there's also this concept of which, and that.
Gemma, you're really cutting out. I can't hear what you're saying.
Sorry. Is this any better?
Yeah.
The user locale determines the format of your dates and your the way that Salesforce interacts with you. So when we choose a domain that's United Kingdom, we get all our dates the right way round. Whereas if we switch it to US, we get them all the wrong way round. If we switch it to France, we get, instead of slashes, we get dashes in our dates and things like that. So it's all about respecting the country and the local formats.
Fair enough. But then, so I've got English here, and then so this is what you're talking about with the weekly setup.
Your locale.
Cool. Well, I want it in Australia, so there we go. Even if I'm +2. Okay. Save. But why is it? Okay, there we go. But some of it's not yet done. I guess it will update in a sec.
It will indeed. This is, I know architecturally why this is.
It's still doing it though. It's still in Norwegian up here.
Yeah, it can take a minute. It can take a minute to update in Lightning, so don't worry.
Position. And then we go new.
Yep.
Position.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was handy. Now the owner is Janet, recruiting manager, so I know who she is. I'm glad I named it that way.
So that makes sense because you are logged in as Janet. So you're going to be the owner of this record. So let's, what would be a good position here? Who do we want to hire?
The CTO that you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Thank you.
We need someone with some technical knowledge here.
Yep.
Hiring manager, Janet.
And go ahead and select yourself.
Recruiting manager, Janet.
No, wait a minute. So are these going to be the same person? They're not, right?
So this one is maybe Melanie.
They're
be in real life.
No, you see, you're only able to
because I don't. Yeah, exactly.
So you want, since you're the recruiting manager, you want yourself there.
Cool. You
want Janet as the recruiting manager.
Oh, I want Janet as recruiting and me as hiring.
Yes. And the hiring manager, we're going to leave that blank for now. So Kat, you're the system admin, so you don't want yourself as the hiring manager there.
Sorry.
Yep. There we go. And then let's think of a nice salary to attract this person.
$4 million. Yeah, how much that is.
Oh, wow.
Want to come work here. And the status is open. Isn't that nice?
Not for long.
Okay, I think we got it. Go ahead and click save. And so we have a position created. We need to get that hiring manager filled in, however, right? And so this is where we have to log out as Janet and log in as the hiring manager.
Oh, fun. So then I have to deactivate Janet and reactivate.
Yes, so it's really, you're kind of jumping through hoops. And
okay, it will sometimes throw you out of your playground. There's a way to avoid doing that. you can go to session settings. So if you close that and go back and relaunch your playground.
Do I have to go back to like this thing and launch it again?
Yeah, go back and relaunch. I'm going to, and all of you, you can follow along if you want. Go to backstage. And in your quick find, type in session. And go to session settings. And under session settings, how sad. If this is still correct, I'm going to kick myself for being a massive nerd. There should be, yes, no, I do remember it. Where it says session timeout, untick where it says force log out on session timeout.
Nice. Okay, I am learning something here, Gemma.
And then click save.
Yeah.
I'm just like looking what this is. Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Save.
Oh yeah.
Save.
Yeah, just hit save. That will you out when you look.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're cutting out a lot, Gemma.
Oh, hello.
You're back.
In an ordinary testing scenario, we would have more than 2 users that we could use. So as an administrator, we're able to log in as other users. And that setting that we've just changed stops throwing you out of Salesforce completely when you log out as those users.
The other way to go about this is to open up another browser window.
Okay, and then I have 2 playgrounds.
Yeah,
open.
I have. Right. So I may keep myself logged in Chrome as a system admin and then log in as other users in Firefox.
Gotcha.
Do we have time to test one of these scenarios then really quickly? And then people can finish off?
That would be nice, yeah. So what should we do? Should we log in as an engineer and try and create a position?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that way
then I
test our security.
have 4 active here though.
Yeah, a couple of them are system-wide that you can't deactivate.
It's annoying that I can't just untick. Why do they tempt me with this thing and I can't untick? It's very annoying. So I am deactivating Janet so that I can reactivate an engineer. So
Correct, yes.
Then I edit Jen, the engineer, and I make her active and I save.
Click save, and then hopefully we can
log in.
We have a login link that appears next to that engineer.
And we're in Norwegian again, just for fun. Okay.
That's on Google Translate, yeah.
Okay. But can we create a position? Is there? And we see the tab, but there is no new, right?
No.
Yep. So that's what we want.
Because your profile settings have said that you don't have the access to create a new position. So you can see the tab, but you can't create anything.
Cool.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, can you, because this, I assume this is the recently viewed list. If you pick all, does anything show up? Let's have a look at that CTO position. Can you edit it?
No, I don't have any.
No.
And but the edit buttons? Any of
It says new contact, new case, new sales.
Okay.
Subject.
So you can see effectively what you've done here then is through the profile settings, you've actually made this just read only, really.
Cool.
Yep.
So you can see the salary, which we're not meant to see though. But I guess we haven't set that up yet.
That's a good point. Yep, that's supposed to be hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So on the profile, that's a field level security thing. So when you hide it, when you hide max salary through field level security, that field just doesn't appear on this list. Instead of, you would see the status field where max salary is shown.
Okay. So you can see the value of checking our work here because we overlook something.
Yep, and that's why when we test, certainly one of the things that we do on projects when we are implementing security requirements is we need to build scripts. And in those scripts, we will say things like, you know, when Janet logs in, you'll have a requirement which is recruiting managers shouldn't be able to change anything if they're not the hiring manager, etc. Engineers shouldn't be able to change any positions. Then then you would give it a purpose and you would say this is to ensure, you know, you would explain the business purpose of that step. Then you might put in a series of steps, which is, you know, these are the steps that you take to test. So you'll go log in as an engineer, create a position, and then what you would have is an expected result. And then the expected result, it would say, you know, I'm unable to create a new position, no new button appears. And then you would say whether that, and then you would have an actual result. So when you go and test it, you would say, well, yes, that's what I got. That's what I was expecting. If you miss one tiny thing on that expected result, for example, let's say in the steps, in the test steps, it says go in and create go and review a position record. You shouldn't be able to create it, and you shouldn't see a max salary. And if you then go and look at it and you say, well, actually, I can't create it, but I can see a max salary, then it's failed the test. And it's failed the test because it hasn't matched the expected outcome exactly. So then you go ahead, you make a tweak, you change the field level security, and then you test it again, and next time it will pass. And these tests, this scripting method and style is really particularly effective with security. And it completely documents everything that you have. First of all, it covers you to prove that you have actually tested your high quality solution. But it also, if you're in a customer facing role or you've got to report to some kind of stakeholder, it's the due diligence there. It proves that you've actually tested it, and it shows how you've tested it.
Yep. So we had a few more steps that we're not going to be able to get to in this session, but obviously we would want to create a candidate and then link that to a position, maybe create a couple of candidates. And we also have a permission issue that kind of a problem we need to solve, and that we want managers to only have visibility of the positions that they're been assigned to. And so that, you know, would take a little bit of discussion, but I did want to mention one, I think on Monday, I mentioned manual sharing, and I confirmed that this is a feature not available in Lightning. And when I created this whole homework assignment, I was thinking, oh, you'll use manual sharing for that, but it won't work unless you switch back to Classic, which is a bit of a pain. There's a couple of solutions to this. One is on the App Exchange. There is a free package that you can install that would give you a manual sharing button. And there's a couple of other ways around it. What I was going to have you all walk through is creating a permission set to solve that problem.
Steve, do you think it's worth we could carry? In fact, I'll take it by vote. What would people prefer to do? Would you prefer to go and take this scenario away and complete it as homework, or would you like us to reconvene again on Monday to work through the rest of it together? What do people want to do?
Monday.
You want to do it as homework? Someone wants to do it as Monday homework.
Apparently I'm the only one that wants to do it on Monday. Just me.
I kind of like the idea of attempting to do this on your own and then reconvening and checking and then kind of problem solving.
That's a good idea, Jeremy. So Jeremy's just said for homework, there are some people who might want to reconnect in between just to validate. I think that's a great idea. If you guys want to arrange your own calls and, you know, crack on with the homework in between you, that would be really good. So I know some people got a little bit lost. So if they're able to follow along in their own time and then continue to work through, and then we check back in on Monday.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Do you all have, like, feel free, I don't know how much contact you all have with each other. So if you need me to connect you all, oh, there you go. Just share your details.
And you guys, I'm going to share my email address. If you want to email me with questions, as long as I have time, I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so I'm going to put on the curriculum for Monday. We're going to review the homework, the data security homework. And answer any questions. And then I think the day after, we will start looking at formulas and validations. If we get through that in one lesson, then great. If we don't, in fact, I think I will allow 2 lessons for that, because I'm going to get another guest speaker through to talk about flow a little bit later in May, actually. So I would also like to cover Service Cloud with you. So process automation for another week, flows for another week. If we do formulas or next Wednesday and the following Monday, and then Service Cloud, that will put us in a good position to spend 2 weeks on process automation. I'm just talking out loud, just ignore me. Just so that you know I'm not completely winging this. I'm just flexible.
Yeah. And Gemma, I could return for an hour on Monday, if you wish.
Fabulous. Yes, please. That would be really good. Thanks.
Okay.
Steve.
Sure. Since I got you all in this mess, I might as well help you get out of it.
Yes. Don't be worried about it. Yeah, sure. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. Well done for getting this far. You think about how far you've come from, like, you know, knowing nothing or seeing not very much of Salesforce to now here you are testing like data security. It's an amazing leap. So I would be very proud of yourselves, you know, and take the time, practice, work through the homework, and we will have a look. Sorry, I'm just laughing at what Jeremy said. He said he's drinking from a fire hose and getting Salesforce all over his face. I'm like, welcome to my world.
Yes.
So,
That's how we do it.
You know where we are. So, and we'll speak to you all on Monday. If you're following along online, take comfort in the fact you can pause as you go. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. And special thank you to Steve for putting this together. It's a brilliant exercise. It's a heavy subject and you tackled it really well. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.